Claudia Kiburz. This will be one of the many day sessions offered to students this week during the Imagine 2021 program sponsored by the President's Office, Career Services, and the Oswego Alumni Association. My name is Colleen Sewell, and I'm a senior studying marketing with a minor in graphic design, and I will be the student host for today. The session held today wraps up week 4 of the Imagine 2021 program, which is a 5-week program focused on giving students in the class of 2020 the chance to explore career paths, find job, internship opportunities, network with alumni, and more. Check out the website for more details. The link is in the chat. And if you complete 3 items on the weekly checklist, you'll be eligible for the drawing at the end of the week. The direct link to the checklist is also going to be in the chat. And now I am so excited to tell you more about today's speaker, Claudia Kiburz. After her graduation from Oswego in 1975, Claudia Kiburz traveled through Europe and down into Israel, occupied Sinai. This led to an interest in English as a global language. Ms. Kiburz leveraged this interest into a certification in teaching art and ESOL with a master's in TESOL. And eventually there came an overseas job offer. Ms. Kiburz taught English in 6 different countries, from Albany, New York to Zaid University, from Ankara to Astana, from the Gold Suck of Dubai to the Dubai of the Steeps, all along the heart of the silk and spice routes. And with that, please join me in welcoming Claudia Kiburz.
Thank you, Colleen. The class of 2020. Oh, you folks, the world is your oyster. So I'm going to do my screen share, and I'm going to start off with my PowerPoint because I'm a teacher, okay? Almost there, guys. So, okay. So the title is Finding a Job Overseas. I guess this is finding a job, a teaching job overseas, all right? However, if you're interested in working overseas, maybe there will be some things that can be applicable to your interest, okay? My work address is Nazarbayev University, Education, Kazakhstan. It's a real place, folks, okay? Some of the topics that we're going to be looking at are if you're right, if it's good for you, if it's a good option. Some of the challenges of teaching or working overseas, and just living, basically making a life overseas. So now I've been overseas. I went over originally in 1999 to start work in Dubai. So, you know, it's a commitment throughout various countries. And then eventually, nobody is an expat their entire life, usually. At some point, you do want to settle down someplace, somewhere. So you may want to come back. You may want to, as they say, repatriate. So those are the topics I'm going to be discussing today. The first thing is a quick poll, I guess. Colleen, could you launch that, or somebody launch the poll?
Yes, I'll launch the first one for you, Claudia.
Okay, great. And the poll is these 3 questions. Okay. Oops. Is English your first language? Okay. So if you could answer that, yes or no. Do we have to wait for everyone to answer, or can we move on to the next question?
Yes, I'm just waiting for everyone to answer for that one.
Speak up. Yay, nay. Oh, God, I can't even say it. Iowa, nah, la.
Okay, So I
Okay.
think that's good. I'm going to end that poll.
And then the next question is, oh, how come this isn't moving on? The next question is, do you speak more than one language? Okay.
There we
And
go.
that's spoken. So speaking more than one language, a lot of us can speak a language, right? Uh, I always say, yeah, I can order a pizza in Arabic. That's about the extent of my Arabic ability. However, it's a lot better than my Russian or my Kazakh. You know, what I can do with Kazakh or Russian, in fact. I think I know probably 5 words and I have to do, you know, Rahmet, Dasvedanya. I have to do both languages because I never know what languages the people would be speaking here. And the final question is, uh, are you literate? Because of course, I've known many people, particularly when I was working in the Sinai, I knew a lot of people who could speak 3 or 4 different languages and they could not read and write uh, in any language. That's kind of what got me going, okay? Because I realized, oh, these folks here are quite, they speak, you know, but the literacy skills are something that could be developed, an option, maybe a teaching option, okay? Okay, now how do we see the results? That's what I want to know. I'm learning here as I'm going, guys, okay? And why? Okay, that's pretty good. 50-50, okay. And um, do we have the results for, okay, great. Sorry to burst your bubbles, folks. Often, as far as, yes, that's good, excellent, okay. Just so you know, okay, always play that English is your first language. That's very, very important. Sometimes, if you're an English teacher, you don't really want to tell your employer that you speak, say, Arabic or Chinese. They don't want that, okay, in certain cases. They want you to be an English speaker who will speak English only in the classroom. And there's always that chance that if you're, you know, you can speak Arabic in an Arabic classroom, that you might not use English. So, you know, always kind of just keep your cards close to your chest, as I say. I don't know why my, uh, okay, my, uh, my,
It's not
oh,
going next.
yeah, it's not moving ahead. Maybe it's because of the more. What is
If you
more?
click, if you click the presentation itself on the Zoom screen, it should click next. So just click it.
Okay. Next. Okay, I got it. Okay, cool. Thank you. We live and we learn, right? Okay, cool. So again, uh, be very careful when you're giving any kind of information about yourself to a potential employer. Always be honest, okay? But if you're a dual citizen, if you have a Turkish and a US passport, mm, you know, when it comes time to certain benefits, they may give you a ticket to Istanbul rather than a ticket to San Francisco. Okay, so consider that when you're looking at contracts. Okay, next. But don't listen to me, please. Don't listen to me. I have friends who started 30 years ago. They went to the United Arab Emirates. They were following their husband. They were working as oil people, right? Working for British Petroleum in the Gulf. And one of my friends had a bachelor's degree. She got a job. When I went to the United Arab Emirates, you had to have um, a master's degree. Now it's almost like in the United Arab Emirates, it's almost as if they want you to have a PhD. So times change. You know, you've lived to 2020. Times change so fast you can't before you blink your eyes, you don't know what you're doing. My suggestion is whatever you want to do, just know what you're interested in. Know what your passion is, because no matter where you go or what you do, it will be there for you. For instance, my son is teaching dive instruction. He, no matter where he goes, he loves to do it. That's what he wants to do. Okay, he's not going to make $1 billion, but he's going to love that job. And um, if you are interested in teaching, I don't know at this point if being an English teacher is really going to get you there. Okay, I would suggest that maybe you consider being dual certified, perhaps in science, technology, engineering, or math. Those are hot topics. And of course, science, technology, engineering, art, and math is also a considerable uh, under consideration at this time in many schools around the world. Yeah, English, you can still get a job, but not like it used to be. Not like that. If you were a native speaker, you could walk into many places and take a job. So I say that there's like a tripod, and each of these aspects of teaching are very important. And probably working, okay, not just teaching, but also in working. And a major aspect is the administration, the boss, right? Yeah. And when you're teaching, you also have your students. Now, the administration, the students, they can they can really make your life. You can hate your job because of these two aspects, right? The most important aspect, if you ask me, are the people you work with, your colleagues. Those are the people who will help you through all the agony that one might throw at you. So it's really important to stay uh, on good terms with your colleagues. I know this sounds silly, but just be nice, you know? Try to be helpful. Most Be respectful. Don't be condescending. I've worked with people from all over, from Pakistan, South Africa, the Philippines. You have to respect people for who they are and what they can do, right? And where they're human beings, right? Uh, be helpful. When I was working in Abu Dhabi, I was kind of the go-to person for anyone who had questions about Moodle. Moodle is a course delivery system like Blackboard. And once a semester, everyone would come in and say, "Oh, we got to fix the grade book. How do we do the grade book?" And I kind of putter around and show them what to do. And so they all knew that that was my area of expertise. But of course, you know, some people I knew were always quick with a joke. You know, you, you got to know who your friends are, who your colleagues are, and you got to work with them. uh, make yourself useful, be known for one aspect or another, creativity, something. You gotta find your niche. So, okay, cool. So you say to yourself, yeah, now is this a good thing for me to do? Do I want to go overseas? Do I want to teach overseas? Do I want to take that job overseas in the office in Nairobi or Nur Sultan or Ankara? Do I really want to go overseas? Okay. Think about, uh, I guess you have to consider your marital status. Most of you are still too young, but uh, anyone who's thinking about going perhaps to someplace like the United Arab Emirates or Saudi Arabia and bringing their partner with them, mm, you can't bring your partner. You can bring your husband, right? Or your wife, as long as it's a heterosexual relationship. So there's many countries you've got to take that into consideration, okay? It's just not as liberal as perhaps in the US. Uh, how tolerant are you of uh, things that are not quite the way you think they might be or should be, you know? Can you, I remember I was very intolerant. Oh my God. I was like slap dab in the middle of Dubai and I didn't have any internet. And I was just like very frustrated. I wanted my internet. It was like I was on internet withdrawal, right? You just have to relax and take things in their own time. That's something I have learned and work with what is given. Uh, Electricity goes out, hey, deal with it. Take the candles out. Always have a flashlight available. Cold water for a shower in the morning. That's the way life goes, you know? So can you deal with that kind of uh, issues? Are you flexible? I guess I'm thinking food, you know, like if you go and you cannot find ragu spaghetti sauce, hey, can you, make spaghetti sauce with tomato paste or something like this? This seems simple, doesn't it? You know, but I've known people who I just cannot deal with. They can't figure out how to have a hamburger if it doesn't have Heinz ketchup on it, or you know, or they got to have the Hellman's mayonnaise. It's like, what? Okay, cool. Everybody's different, right? Um, and how, how creative are you? You know, can you take something like, I don't know, I'll go to my supermarket here in uh, Kazakhstan, and there's horse meat ravioli, well, pierogies, little, they call them mate, little uh, dumplings, right? Wrapped around horse meat. Okay, I guess I could take these. I could I could make something that tastes like ravioli for me, right? So be creative, right? Work with what you got. And I think finally, learn from your failures, you know? Everybody makes mistakes, everybody says the wrong thing, everybody laugh about it. Move on, you know? I can remember one of my students was named Ahmed, okay? Now, I had spent a long time calling him Ahmed. And finally, he stopped me in class and he said, "Don't call me Ahmed." I'm like, "Isn't your name Ahmed?" He said, "No, my name is not Ahmed. My name is Ahmed." Oh, Ahmed, I can do that. Ahmed. And he said, "Yeah, Ahmed means you take a cigarette butt and you grind it into the ground." And I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." But I learned how to say Ahmed properly.
Claudia,
So
we do have some questions in the chat. Would you rather have questions as they come in, or do you want to hold them till the end?
let's see. Let's take a little break here. Question. All right, I'm looking at my chat button down here. Q&A. Is that where it is?
It's in the
No,
actual chat function for now.
but I don't see the chat function.
Okay.
I see the Q&A. If I stop the screen share, I think I will see the chat. Oh, wait a minute. Participants? No.
I can read them off to you.
Okay, because I don't see, somehow oh, wait a minute, wait a minute. No. Somehow when I'm on screen share, I can't see my chat button. I should, but I don't. Okay, go ahead. Read it off.
Okay.
Go.
The first one was, how has the pandemic impacted your work, and how was your experience been dealing with a global pandemic while living overseas?
Oh, that's a great question. Okay. Um, Pandemic. I feel, in a sense, blessed. I feel blessed because we haven't had very many uh, cases on campus. Okay. Uh, and during most of the pandemic, up until probably December, Kazakhstan was in what was called the yellow zone, so not that many cases. In fact, I felt much safer here in Kazakhstan than I did if I were to go home and visit my friends in Tampa, Florida, where the pandemic was rampant, right? So I was actually safe and blessed. However, Kazakhstan had a much heavier hand, what we would call mandates, right? So we were mandated. We were told that we were to stay in our apartments. I'm 65, and so if I'm 65, I have to. I'm actually 67. I was told not to leave my apartment except for maybe once a week to get groceries. And people were told the first back in March, it was like you can leave your apartment for 30 minutes to go to the grocery store. You can't leave, it's a compound, with a gate, it's a gated community. Can't leave. You're stuck. You're stuck on campus. You're not allowed to go. If I want to call the Uber, the local company, the local Uber company, it's called Yandex. I have to walk out to the main road to get that Yandex uh, taxi. So uh, yeah, we basically wear our masks when we leave the apartment. Um, we hunker down, right? But I've been lucky because uh, I can walk through skywalks, which are tunnels, So our skywalk tunnels go from our university over to the other side of campus where what I have, there's a grocery store. So, but definitely it's been online teaching since March 16. I never forget the date, because originally it was March 16th, and we were like, that was moving into March 21st, which is the big holiday here of Nowruz. It's the major holiday. So what they did was they made the Nowruz holiday much longer. And then after 3 weeks of a long, long Nowruz holiday, rather than 1 week, we were told, well, the rest of um, the rest of the year would be online, all the assessments would be online, and then we we just stayed online all the way through. Is Oswego um it's online, right? There's no in classes. Is that
We
true?
have very limited in-person classes. I believe it's now a third of classes are offered in person, and the rest is online.
Wow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think there are a few students who are doing research at Nazarbayev University, just a few, okay? And but everyone's online, yeah. And God bless them. We're waiting either for the Kazakhs. There's a lot of countries that are putting together vaccines now. The Kazakhs are developing their own vaccine. Who knows, right? But we might get the infamous Sputnik 5 vaccine. So we're waiting to see what happens there, okay? Uh, don't know. Um, any other questions? Sorry.
Yeah. We can do one more. Can you share what drew you to teaching and living abroad? Was it something you always saw yourself doing?
Well, I started at Oswego, and I was in ceramics, stained glass, and fiber arts. Okay. When I went overseas and I spent time in the Sinai Peninsula, that's when I realized that there was potential for teaching English overseas. And I said, okay, teaching English overseas. So when I came back to the US at that point, I worked on a degree which was dual certification K through 12 to teach art in K through 12, or to work uh, doing ESL. So I got dual certification. I never used that degree. It's like it's like the thing you drive yourself through and you get the certification. Never got a job. And then in 1999, I went to a conference in New York City, the TESOL conference, TESOL International Conference, and that's when I got two job offers. One was in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, and one was in Dubai. So happy after that. Okay. Uh, so I guess I was always interested in languages, even though I'm a very, very bad language student myself, but I enjoyed history, cultures, and languages per se. Okay.
Yeah, thank
Next.
you.
Okay. Keep those questions coming in, and once I threw the PowerPoint out, or I don't need to do the screen share, I think I can find the chat down here. Okay, cool.
Okay, thank
And
you.
so what time do I have? I'm just going to check real quick. Okay, 9:30. Oh, sorry. So yes, you are a native, your English is your native language. You have a second language. You know that you want to work overseas, and you start applying, right? And you start looking at contracts. People start offering you contracts, and you say, whoa, look at this. And of course, the bottom line is money, right? The salary, but that's so not, it's just half of what you make when you work overseas. The first thing is that when you work overseas, often it's considered um, you are the ward, WARD. So you're sponsored by an employer, and they must provide certain things for you in most cases. Housing, always good. Your housing could be, oh God, when I was in Dubai, it was an apartment on Sheikh Zayed Road with a swimming pool on top and a gym and a penthouse view. It was beautiful. And the first day I got there, they handed me 10,000 US dollars and said, go buy some furniture. I'm like, okay, I'm good. And then off to IKEA we go. Um, Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes you might go to, for instance, when I was in Saudi Arabia, it was dormitories, a shared dormitory. So, as a professional, do you want to go back to being in a shared dormitory? Uh, Always check and see what the housing situation is. Fully furnished, could be 20 years old, you know, there could have been 15 or more people who had lived in that apartment that's fully furnished. It might not be so nice, okay? Uh, the apartments that I have that were provided with here in Nur Sultan, Kazakhstan are quite nice and new, very new. Okay, what happened to my button? Okay, there we go. And because the employer is sponsoring you, usually they have to provide health care in a contract, in a good contract, right? And a lot of times they will provide tickets. Sometimes they provide you the money for the ticket. This is why it's very important to um, consider where you want to call your home of record. Your home of record is where they're going to provide you a ticket for. So if you want to go visit your friends, for instance, my son now lives in Honolulu. Saudi Arabia, one of the few. Uh, Probably too early for any of you to consider. I just noticed that my internet connection is unstable. So if I start to sound bad, please let me know, okay? Um, Many uh, schools and universities will provide educational benefits. Fantastic. A young family, uh, you know, you have kids and they depending on the school or the contract, they may give you a nice sum of money so that your child can study in an international school. Also here, I have found, not that it impacts me, but Nazarbayev University, where I work here, has a really very good, generous maternity leave for the teachers. So I've had probably 3 different colleagues have taken time off, 6 months maternity leave, which not every place does. Also remember your professional development. So your professional development is a lot of times the university or school might give you certain classes or lessons that you should work on. Just do it because you don't know. You might be leaving after a 3-year contract, and you can always put that professional development on your resume for your next job. And oh, salary. So salary, got to think about the currency rates, right? I didn't have to think about this for many, many years when I was working in the United Arab Emirates and in Saudi Arabia because the currency is pegged to the US dollar. So if the dollar was up, the dirham in the UAE was up. And same with the real in Saudi Arabia. When I went to Kuwait, things were a little more shaky. The Kuwaiti dinar might go up and down. So I might be making more money or less money. Here in Kazakhstan, they have a special, I call it the magic number. And it's basically the currency rate at the end of the month when they give you their salary. They always use a special number that is related to the where the Kazakh tenji and the American dollar. So I always get the same amount of American dollars, but it's just a different uh, amount of in tenji. So it's all good. You know, you have to get those things nailed down. All of those benefits are important. You know, they make your life. Believe me, you may think you're making a lot of money, but then if you find out that they don't provide housing and that, you know, 3/4 of your salary goes to living in a nice place, yeah, yeah, life is not fun.
We have one more question that came in.
Yes, please.
Um, do you recommend a TEFL/TESOL certification for teaching abroad?
Yes, yes. Uh, that's what I did with through Albany. At that point, Oswego didn't have this certification. I think Oswego does this now, right? He, yes,
I
they
believe
have.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it. You know, if you want to do a dual certification, like an education degree in my God, in my day it was industrial arts. Oswego was big on industrial arts for some reason. Dual certification, great. Like I say, if you can be a math teacher and an English teacher, you are in good stead. Yes, yes. Um, I always find it interesting because there seems to be a difference between what Americans, uh, the qualification, which is a master's, or mine happened to be a master's of science in teaching English as a second language to other, no, teaching English speakers of other language, TESOL. Yeah. And then my British friends would be like, oh, but you don't have a Delta. You don't have a CELTA. I don't know. These degrees, they're basically certifications to a Delta and a CELTA. It's a British certification. And I'm like, yeah, but I did a master's degree and I had, 12 hours of practicum in teaching. And they're like, oh, okay. So, yeah, good point. Uh, that's what I would recommend. Uh, and be very careful. Uh, well, at this point, everything is online. A lot of places do not want to see online online degrees, right? Like I guess the University of Phoenix is famous for online degrees. Yes.
Mhm. Yep.
So try to get the brick and mortar degree. I don't know how that's going to work now, 2020, but 2021. Hopefully the vaccine is going to make that difference. Okay. Okay. Any other question? Yes, yes.
There is one more.
Okay.
Um, do you think being overseas has allowed you to view life in those first world necessities differently?
First world. Oh my God. I love that. When we were in Dubai, it was like the joke, first world problems. Uh,
Yeah.
First world problems. I remember going to Dubai, and the first week, uh, we had a bus that would take us from our Sheikh Zayed Road apartments to our campus, right? And I'm sitting on the bus and I'm listening to these people, and one of my colleagues was, oh, I have the best masseuse. She's down in Altar Tower. And yes, yes, and at that salon too, there's a wonderful mani-pedi. They do a great Tuesday mani-pedi, fantastic. And then it was like someone said, yes, my tailor. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm this kid from upstate New York, right? I'm from a small town in upstate New York. And these people are like teachers, teachers, fine teachers, admirable profession. And they're talking about having a personal tailor and their special masseuse and their special mani-pedi that they do every Tuesday. I'm like, wow. Yeah, first world problems. The first world problems, as I said, like how can you live without your internet, right? Uh, how can how can I get by without my Heinz and my Hellmann's? I don't know. So yeah, it's like there are really, you start to value the important things in life. I think not only living overseas, I think the pandemic has taught many people the importance of friendship, the importance of connection, the importance of just smiling at people, right? I've noticed this when I'm walking down the street and I'm wearing a mask, because I have to wear a mask here. Everyone has, it's mandate, mask mandate. I find that I really focus on trying to use my eyebrows to say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm smiling. Yeah, I am smiling. Hi. And maybe more so that I would see someone and I say, hi, how you doing? Or try to use my cars like, I like kiss, you know. good morning, good evening, something like that, just try, you know. So in other words, I think you learn how to reach out more to people because of the pandemic. And I think uh, you learn, for me, being overseas, not so much the first world problems, but more relax, take it easy, it's things
Yeah,
happen.
absolutely.
uh, so moving on, you've got your job, you've got your contract, then you got to do your visa. Okay, I think I'm just going to check my time. I have 20 more minutes, I guess. So make sure you keep all your credentials. Normally, a lot of places will require for you to take your diploma and then you have to get it notarized by the county clerk. And then it has to be taken from the county clerk to the Albany, New York, to the State Department, and then has to go from the State Department to the United uh, State um, State Department, right? And get signed by who is our Secretary of State now? I don't know. New Secretary of State, right? Mine were signed by people like Hillary Clinton and Colin Powell and things like that. So, and then you get that, and from once they've been signed by the Secretary, U.S. Secretary of State, then they have to get sent to the embassy of Saudi Arabia or something. Oh my God, it's on and on and on. Once you get those documents, whatever they are, your marriage certificates or your academic certificates, keep those. Don't lose them. Don't let them walk away. Keep copies of them. Um, oh, make sure you file your taxes when you're overseas. I had a lot of friends who did not file their taxes or didn't file this foreign bank account report. Not good, because then it looks like you're getting a whole help. After a number of years, you got a considerable amount of money stashed in a bank account someplace. And the US government is not going to like it when you walk in with all this money, right? I mean, what you got to basically, if you do your taxes, there's something called a an agreement between governments. And if you work overseas and you pay those taxes overseas, then you don't have to pay the US taxes. So do it. Take advantage of it. I I didn't for like probably maybe 15 years. I would do my taxes, declare my taxes, and whatever money I made in the UAE was not taxed because it was taxed in the UAE, which it really wasn't taxed, but it was taxed in the UAE with air quotes. Okay. Um, that's all. Don't forget to register to vote. Oh, please. Oh my God. It's a lot easier to register in your home county. And then, once you're overseas, it's not that difficult to vote overseas. It's a little more difficult to register if you're overseas. And establish a good bank account so that you can send your money, you know, over from wherever you're working. And probably always a good idea to have someone in that you trust that can kind of pick up if there's any issue with money getting transferred from one country to another country. Have an international phone, like with WhatsApp or something, because a lot of times you have to uh, get a text message to open up to log into your bank account or something for any number of reasons. Okay, always good to have that. And keep learning. I'm going to try to quickly go through this. Uh, do as many qualifications as you can. Pick up as many languages as you can. Work on that. Work with local groups. I like in Dubai, there was a group called the Dubai Natural History Group. Here in Kazakhstan, there's a biodiversity natural history group. These are all great groups to get you out of the city and get you to see places around. And don't forget to keep in touch with your local library. Oh, I'm so happy. Even I transferred to Tampa, Florida. I'm so happy because wherever I go, I can always log into my local Tampa library and get ebooks. Some places you go, you might have internet, but you might not be able to find any good books to read, okay? So local library is a good thing. And pensions, you don't get a pension. You have no pension. You don't have Social Security. I haven't paid into Social Security probably years and years now. So my Social Security benefits really are not very good. They're from like 20 years ago. Get a good accountant. The accountant can help you with those taxes. Um, think about as you're sending money either to the US or to an offshore bank account, think about making the money work for you, investing. I've been lucky enough to get into some property, always a good thing. Um, and or stocks and bonds. Don't don't just keep it in a bank account. Be very careful. Uh, be very careful about buying property overseas. I've have some friends who bought into the Dubai bonanza in 2005, and then everything crashed in 2006, and they were not happy. Let's see. So stay connected, keep learning. These are a few places if you truly are interested in teaching English overseas. Um, these are good places that I have found to be very reliable. Um, Careers in TESOL Arabia, particularly for the Gulf, the Arabian Gulf. Asia TEFL is more for the Philippines, Vietnam, Laos, China. Okay, so for the Far East. And then Higher Ed Jobs is a good board to look in. And I think finally Chronicle is also very good. So I believe my next slide is basically Q&A. So go for it.
All right.
Um,
Um,
yeah.
okay, our next question is, do you find it easy and or beneficial to maintain a network of colleagues in your specific area of work? And if so, how do you recommend making these connections?
Okay. Very good, especially during this pandemic. You know, uh, I have colleagues now, basically my friends that uh, I worked with in Dubai, right? Okay. And stay connected. I mean, I have a friend who I worked with in Dubai, and now she's working with me here at Nazarbayev University. Um, I had a friend that was Iranian. Okay, she'd worked at Texas A&M, and I kind of met her through TESOL Arabia, and it was ironic because when I was applying for a position at Khalifa University in Abu Dhabi, uh, the gentleman I was interviewing with said, "So, I see you're friends with so and so, Dr. Aliyah." And I said, "Yes, yes. Okay, yeah, I know her from Peaceful Arabia." And we spent some time together at the conference. And he's like, "Oh, well, she is my PhD mentor." And I'm like, "Oh, really?" So, in other words, I kind of had a shoe in with the interviewer just because I had met this woman at TESOL Arabia and had, shall I say, befriended her. Actually, I invited her to stay at my apartment in um, in Dubai because, it's easier for her to stay at my apartment than to stay in a hotel. So, yeah, keep up those contacts. Now, for my retirement, I expect to stop and see a friend who lives in Greece, and then I'll go on and I'll stop and see my friend who lives in Granada, and then I'll move on to a friend who lives in northern England. So I've got this whole little route of people that I've known. As far as keeping and maintaining contact, always. You never know when these people who you're going to, you cross paths, especially, I don't know what it is, but um, teaching English as a second language, it's amazing how many people have worked in one place and then you start talking to them and then say, oh yeah, I was there in 2006. And they're like, oh yeah, I was there in 2005. Then you must know this. It's like a little, what's the word for it? It's a little nest, a little kind of,
Mhm.
for inbreds, so, but another question?
Yeah, I think this might be our last one,
Oh,
but any tips for young professionals who might get turned down for, or sorry, any tips for young professionals who might get turned down for positions they're seeking in their field? How to stay positive, how to try another avenue, etc.
oh, any tips? Okay. So you've interviewed, right? And you didn't get the job. Always write that in the letter. Always say, thank you very much for the opportunity. Hope best of, wish you the best and hope that you find the right person for the position, right? That's how my original job at in Dubai, at Zayed University in Dubai, uh, I had been turned down. And I sent them a nice letter and then a month later they said, oh, I don't know, funny story. It turned out that one of the people who had been hired to start a position, okay, in Dubai at the university where I was going to teach, came in on an airplane that stopped in Amsterdam. Anyway, long story short, uh, the man decided to buy a stash, some things. He had a roach. He had a roach in his pocket, and he forgot that the roach was there. But the drug sniffing dogs in Dubai found that he had a roach in his pocket. So he was out the door, and I was in the door. What can I say? You never know what's going to happen. And the turnover, especially this year, it seems like there were a lot of people who thought they wanted to be in a position and then decided no, they didn't want to stay in a position because of the pandemic situation. So there's a huge shakeup. How to stay positive? Oh my God. I remember getting these, the thin, in my day, it was a thin uh, envelope. And I would just take it and I'd look at my friend and I'd say, it's a real thin envelope. I know what this one is. And it was always the typical, thank you very much. Da, 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 just keep going. I mean, there's nothing to do. Uh, Start off with something small. It might mean uh, go and work in the local library and teach English to immigrant children, right? Read storybooks, do something with it, right? And then uh, you never know, who might walk in and that person, might be uh, a walk into the library and he happens to be the supervisor at the school and says, hey, wait a minute, uh, and you get to talking. That's the only way you can do it. You just got to stay with it. I don't know. Um, just remember, no matter how bad it seems, it took me from 75 when I graduated from Oswego to 1999 before I got a job overseas. So you're going to do better than that, right? It's all good.
So we do have a few more questions that are actually coming in, if you don't mind.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. No, as
Okay.
long as it doesn't impact on your schedule.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
What do you enjoy the most about teaching? What differences would you know about teaching abroad versus in the States, if any?
Okay. What do I enjoy most about teaching? I do enjoy the students. Okay. I enjoy the students. Um, and, and I enjoy being proved wrong. Okay. Every time that a student tells me, oh, wait a minute, slow up, that's not right. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right, you know? So, example, I always give this example. Student comes into the writing center, and this is in Florida, right? And says the 14th Amendment allows for slavery. I'm like, the 14th Amendment, the 14th Amendment abolished slavery. She's like, no, you read that amendment and you will see that it allows for slavery. Damned if I didn't read the amendment, the 14th Amendment, and said, oh, yeah, yeah, slavery, as long as, you're in prison, slavery's okay, you know? So I was like, damn, you're right. Write that research paper. So I always like that when a student changes my mind, changes my attitude. That's what I like best. Teaching in the US and teaching overseas. I guess the big difference with teaching in the US and teaching overseas, because I did teach for like 3 years in the US in Albany, New York, actually, is the students had come to the US to learn English and they were immersed. So it was almost a no brainer. They were going to learn English, right? And I always liked the fact that a lot of times they found out how much they had in common, much more than what their differences, right? So I remember one Spanish student, we only had one Spanish student. We had a lot of South American students, and we had a lot of students from the Caribbean, South America, and there's one Spanish student, right? And he was, when he first came in, he was like, oh, well, we speak Spanish, but I speak Spanish, and they speak, So he had this sense that he was different than the folks from South America. And by the end of 6 weeks, he was like, yeah, those people from South America, yeah, we got a lot in common. I'm like, yeah, I would say so. Same with, I had Kurdish and Turkish people that would come in, and all of a sudden they realized that they had so much more in common than they thought that they had, that they did not have in common. Or, oh, I love this. I had a student from Mongolia and a student from Turkey, and all of a sudden they were talking. They were like, yeah, yeah, we can understand each other. Like, oh, that's cool. So I like that sense that students who and came to the US from all over, all of a sudden realized how much they had in common. Also, I love what one of my Japanese students, he said this, and I think this is par for anyone who travels outside of their country. He said, my whole life I lived in Japan. I got here in Albany, and all of a sudden I start looking at myself, and he said, and I started thinking, oh, I'm so Japanese. Like, and I think maybe that's what happens when you go overseas. You say to yourself, oh my God, like especially here in Kazakhstan, uh, I will walk down what's called the atrium. It's the open space in our university covered space. Okay, and I'm smiling, I'm happy, and and I get the weirdest looks from the Kazakh people, Kazakh students, like, why the hell are you smiling? You got something wrong? Are you smoking something or something? Well, I'm just happy. I don't know. Why should I smile? And yeah, so you do notice your nature, your very nature. And I think usually Americans tend to be a lot more easygoing and relaxed and joy of life than some folks that seem to be a bit more proper. Yeah. So I guess the question was differences, and that's my favorite part about teaching. Yeah, students, definitely students. I, I hope I covered that.
Yeah.
Next
Um,
question. Mhm.
yes, last one. Do you get homesick being overseas? And is there anything you do to maintain your mental health while out there and dealing with all the cultural differences?
Control differences. Yeah, it's a matter of. I'll work backwards. Control differences is, do you accept it? Do you see it as control, or do you just see it as, okay, okay, you're going to tell me that, right? Okay, and then move on. That's control is all about mentally you accepting that it's a control situation, right? So you move on. And then the first part of the question was
Do
not
you get
mental,
do you
yeah,
get homesick?
homesick. Oh my God, where is home? I always remember I would go camping with a good friend of mine in Dubai. I love Dubai because you could go outside into the desert and camp in the wadis. Beautiful, right? Under the stars. But I, whenever we came driving back into Dubai and we'd see that tower, Khalifa Tower, and I'd say, oh, now I feel like I'm home when I see that. I think in Italy, Florence, Italy, people, the expression is, I'm sick for the dome. In other words, I'm homesick. I want to see the dome, the dome in Florence, right? And kind of that's the way I felt whenever I've drive back into Dubai, I would see the tower and I would feel like I was home. Hey, that's home. Um, homesick. Homesick is only not about the place, it's about the people, right? So you do I miss my sister. I miss, spending time with my son, but I don't have a huge, extensive family, and we seem to be quite spread out in any case. So, uh, online, that's it. And you know what? It's kind of strange, but last year I was really missing sunshine and Tampa. I like being in a warm and sunny place. And but then, especially in the winter, it's cold, and the sun comes up around 9 o'clock. So you got 6 hours of daylight. Yeah, I missed it. Something about quarantine is just like I just accepted life a lot more for what it is, you know, and just take it take it for what it is, and enjoy life what you have because God, it's been a rough year, I tell you. I don't know how people have managed there. Like, so many things are going on, so many issues. Okay.
Absolutely.
hmm So I've
Yes,
been
well, that
blessed.
was our last question. I
hmm
do want to thank you so much for being here, Claudia. I also want to thank everyone for participating. And again, Claudia, for sharing your story and inspiring us all.
hmm Okay. No, you've inspired me. Don't forget that. Okay.
Ah,
All right. And yeah, I don't know. Just use my email address. I'm so sorry I don't have it up on the screen anymore. Um, if you need those, you have the PowerPoint, right? So that's both.
yes,
Okay. All right.
yes.
talking to you. Great getting back to Oswego. Oh, by the way, just so you know, oh, okay. The temperature here is 14 degrees Fahrenheit. So is that about the temperature now in Oswego?
Yeah, that's definitely comparable.
Yeah. So after all these years, I'm back in a place that is similar, windy, cold, not not quite as much snow. You always come
Yeah,
back home. You always come back home. Don't forget that. Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Thank you. And everyone else, we hope to see you all tonight for the Imagine 2021 day session with Quindell Williams at 5 p.m. You can see the link for that one in the chat. But other than that, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and have a great day.
Okay. Take care. Bye bye.